This first story is from a woman named Jennifer in Orlando, Florida. I had a Tinder date once with a guy named Peter who lived in my neighborhood. Anytime I went on a date, I would always give my roommates my location. The guy kept telling me about how much he loved his snake and asked me if I wanted to go over there and meet it. After chatting on the phone for a few days, I decided to go over there. It was an average-sized home with a boat out in front of it. As soon as I pulled into the driveway, he came running outside to tell me to park diagonally next to the boat. There's maybe about an inch of room on either side. I think he just didn't want me to be able to leave quickly. He didn't know I honestly live within walking or running distance. The guy answers the door in his tidy whities, which is creepy, but I foolishly went inside anyway, to a house with almost no furniture. I think there was a small, yucky couch and a 32-inch TV on a TV stand in the house, and that was about it. After talking for a while, I found out he's in medical school for psychiatry, and he's already categorized me as having low self-esteem and a problematic childhood. Nail on the head, to be honest. And I started thinking, where's the snake? He keeps asking me if anyone is expecting me later tonight, or if anyone knows where I am, and I started contemplating if I would be able to just bolt for the door before he catches me. His line of questioning kept getting weirder and weirder. He wanted to know my dating history. Where's my family from? Who do I live with? Finally, I asked him, where's your snake? He just smiled and continued with his very strange questions. At this point, I don't know if he wants to kill me or just has a sick sense of humor. I just knew that I needed to get the hell out of there. I made up an excuse to leave and he insisted on walking me to the door. He tried to kiss me before I rejected him. He kept nervously checking his phone and telling me to stay just a few more minutes. I somehow managed to back out of the driveway in seconds. Don't ask me how. I had only been driving about a year and was terrible at reversing. He left me a voicemail the next day asking me to go on a road trip into the mountains where there's no service, but I never replied. The even scarier part is that 2 weeks later, there were 5 cop cars driving down his street. I don't remember seeing him move, but his house sat empty for a long time after that. I never had the heart to try to look up what happened there. My name is Amy. At the time of the story, I was living back in Los Angeles, California. This wasn't a Tinder date because it was years before Tinder existed and honestly before I even carried a cell phone with me all the time. Back in 2004, I had just graduated from college. I met this guy on Match.com and we agreed to meet up at a local bar in our town. It was one of my first online dates ever. I'll never forget what he looked like because it wasn't quite like his pictures. He was totally bald, about 5'5" with glasses. This was in stark contrast to his photos, which looked at least 10 years younger with a full head of brown hair, and he falsely claimed to be 6 feet tall. He seemed nice enough in the beginning though. After a few beers, he asked me if I wanted to go for a walk. Red flag, but I was too naive at the time to pick up on it. So we went for a walk. I assumed we were going one way and he led me another way, which was where it was less crowded. Again, red flag. As we were walking, he says, "My D is average. It isn't huge, but it's enough." And before I could get the what the f out of my mouth, he pushed me up against a wall on a dark sidewalk and attempted to kiss me. It was sloppy and gross, and he pressed his short, sweaty, chubby body against me hard. Somehow I managed to shove him off and squirm away and run all the way back to my car in my very uncomfortable shoes. Obviously, I never talked to him again, and thank goodness he didn't chase me. Although, at that point in time, I'm sure I could have outran him. I'm much smarter about dating now. My name is Dave. After a week of talking online, I finally asked out this chick named Amy I met on Tinder. We went out and had dinner on a Friday night and drinks at the sports bar. The date went well. We kissed and watched a couple movies back at my place, but we didn't hook up. The following night, I got a drunken call to come pick her up from the same sports bar from the night before. She said she liked me and wanted me to pick her up and bring her back to my place. I agreed because she didn't seem too impaired at that time. Once we got back to my place, she went straight to the fridge and grabbed a beer. I drank one as well. She then started taking off her clothes and walking directly into my bedroom. We proceeded to hook up and afterwards she passed out, so I let her rest for about an hour or so. She then started snoring super loud, so I started playing loud music and eventually started literally shaking her to wake up. Due to her nasally snoring getting more intense, I shook her one more time and she finally started to wake up. I then started looking through my music playlist to find a different song when I noticed the smell of death. I ripped the covers back and noticed this crazy bitch literally shit in my bed. I said, "Oh hell no," and I got up to go get a towel, and when I returned, she was dry heaving in my bed. I threw the towel on the bed in the area of the accident, and I immediately ran for my small plastic trash can so she wouldn't make a mess. but I was too late. She started to both crap and puke in my bed. Afterwards, she got up and started to clean herself up. She came back into the room to me attempting to clean, and she tried to take over. She did her best to try to clean it up, but it was awful. I knew I would never be able to sleep on that mattress ever again, knowing what happened. She was about to call her ex to come and get her because she felt embarrassed. I told her it was okay and gave her a ride home. The 15-minute drive back to her place seemed like forever, and she was constantly crying and apologizing over and over, and I just drove in silence. I was going to block her, but immediately after I dropped her off, she sent me a long, rambling apology text. And she asked me if there was anything she could do to make it right. I told her not really, unless she could send me a new bed or like $200 to $300 for the cleaning bill. A few minutes later, she cashed out me $300 for a new mattress. And then I blocked her. I sometimes do still see her on Tinder from time to time. I laugh, sigh, and then swipe left.